Hey guys, it's Holly here. I just wanted to record another video for you showcasing another case study of one of my clients and also dear friend this time. Her name is Shelley Beatty. Let's jump straight into this. So Shelley has worked with me for quite a few weeks now. You can see down here we're going on 39 weeks I've been working with her, but she originally came to me because she wanted to drop some body fat to get into shape for her anniversary. So she had really great calorie intakes when she came to me. She'd been pretty consistent and steady on those intakes for quite a while. And she was just ready to kind of do a little bit of a diet phase. So all the stars aligned, everything kind of added up. There was no questions that I had that would suggest that she shouldn't diet. Everything was looking really good. So we kind of got straight into it. But before we get stuck into how we went about approaching her diet and what we did for her reverse diet, which followed the photo shoot, I want to give you a bit of a backstory and show you some photos firstly of Shelley. So Shelley is currently 47 years old, so she looks amazing for her age. Here is her current 2019 photos, and this was taken the weekend of her final week of dieting with me. So she's looking amazing, and she should be incredibly proud for her achievements. Now, if we look to the left here, 2015, quite a different story. And even up until as recent as 2017, she definitely did not look quite like this. Shelley's background is in like ultra endurance events and ultra marathons. So she has quite the background in long distance. It blows my mind that the events that she's done, are like 8-hour events. The run leg, the ride leg, the swim leg. She was incredibly fit. She's a hard worker. She knows how to push her body to the limits, and she did very well at the sport. But here in this image on the left, in 2015, she was still hard at it, training frequently, doing a lot of cardio, but the weight had slowly started to trickle on as she started to get a little bit older, and she just couldn't work it out. Like, why am I gaining body fat? I'm doing hours of training, I'm eating less and less and less, like she just couldn't work it out. So this is a prime example of what can happen as far as metabolic adaptation. So over time, the more you push your body with high amounts of cardio, and as you try to do this on restricted calories, our bodies adapt. They are trying to preserve us from dying. It is an evolutionary mechanism that takes place to stop us from starving to death. So she's doing hours of training and eating very little. So your body wants to defend it. It's trying to look after itself. So over the course of time, she is slowly and steadily been adding weight because when she does then go back to eating a normal amount of food, her metabolism's really suppressed. So what would be considered normal intakes for somebody else of the same body weight, she gains weight on those calories. So that's kind of what had happened with Shelley over those few years. And it was about this turning point for her where she was like, I'm really starting to enjoy lifting weights. She had a couple of bits of equipment in her gym at home. She started lifting. 2 years have passed. She's starting to look a hell of a lot different. So she did away with all the sports. She was having a lot of injuries, repetitive injuries, just from being such a taxing sport, and really started to enjoy lifting weights. So this is just a really great timeline of, how lifting can change your body composition. So many people will say, if this was them, they'd be like, oh, I've already got too much muscle. I just, I need to tone and, lose the fat. But, part of that process involves lifting. So that is the result of what you can see here. So Shelley has been training, I think 5 or 6 days a week, very consistently now for the last few years, and just doing minimal cardio or whatever is necessary to kind of help her maintain her body weight. So super cool stuff. So on to the actual breakdown of her diet and all the time frames, how we've gone about setting everything up. So when she started with me, she was probably sitting at about 16% body fat. So I'm just going to pull up a photo here for you to have a look at on the screen. So on the left here is week 1. So this is Shelley when she came to me. She was sitting at about 138 pounds. I think she's written 137 here, but I've got her down as 138. But she looks great. She's in a phenomenal starting spot. But to get to that next level, so like stage lean, or in this case, Shelley wanted to look as good as being on stage, but she was doing it for a photo shoot. And for her anniversary, we had to take it up a notch. So she did really great. So this image here obviously is at the end of her 12-week diet. And then if I scroll down, you can see week 1 starting, and she's really tightened up. She's gone from 138 to 129 during that 12-week diet phase. So let's have a look at that and how we've set it out. So Shelley reported her maintenance calories to me as being somewhere around 2,100. So the initial drop that I gave her was fairly slight. I've taken her from 21 down to 1,700 just for that first week, just to kind of test the waters and see how she responds to those calories. So her protein targets were set based on her lean body mass. So they came out to be 127. Her carbs are 174 and 57. So a pretty good spot to be starting the diet. Since her maintenance calories are higher, obviously we needed to create a deficit. And this was the deficit that I expected we would need in order to help her achieve her set weekly rate of loss, which we were aiming for somewhere between 0.4 and 0.8 per week. So 17-17 was the start of the diet. We were doing 3 weeks on and then a diet break. We did another 2 weeks and then another diet break, another 2 weeks and a diet break. And the reason we put those in there is because Shelley is a fairly lean individual, as you can see. So she is at a higher risk for loss of lean body mass or muscle than somebody that would be starting out with a higher amount of body fat. So, if that was the case, I'd probably use those diet breaks more sparingly and use them only for the psychological break. But for Shelley, I kind of put those in there because it was important to help preserve her lean body mass that she'd worked hard to build, and also to help mitigate any of that metabolic slowing that takes place during a diet. So we get her down to her final week, week 12, and she has achieved 129.2, and she actually went on to get down to 129 the following week, even with a small calorie increase. So she was probably still in a deficit at that point. So the reason that we did that was because right here, as you can see, is her anniversary. So this was the weekend that she had a little vacay planned. Hubby was taking her on a little holiday, and he had actually privately emailed me and said, I'm going to be renewing our marriage vows. Any chance that you can give Shell some leeway on that particular weekend so she can eat with me and have something to drink to celebrate? So we did. And if you scroll across here and look at the screen, you can see I actually gave her 5 lower days. You can see here I'm highlighting it with the mouse. And then 2 higher days. So she had a couple of days that were a little bit more challenging, but then I gave her 2 higher days at 180 carb and 62 fat, which is quite a bit higher than what she was consuming during the week. But overall, her average intakes weren't too far above what her predicted maintenance calories were at the time. So this last column here, you can see that I'm highlighting is the average for the week. So her average on that weekend was 1549. So she looked great. As you can see in the photos, she just kicked some butt. And then we'll go over to her. That was her photo shoot day. She looked amazing. We did a little peak week protocol just so that we filled out her muscle glycogen stores, kind of like I would prep somebody going into a show day if they were competing. Because the last thing you want to do is go into a photo shoot and look flat and awful. So we did a small peak week for Shelley so that she kind of came in looking her best, and she sure as heck did. So after that anniversary, she kind of really wanted to maintain that shape, and I kind of explained to Shell, well, your body fat percentage is incredibly low at the moment. You're going to see some significant decreases to your hormones that are responsible for hunger. So you're probably having really low leptin at the moment. Your appetite's going to be through the roof because your calories have been quite restricted. But she actually didn't report a huge amount of hunger. She only really started to notice the effects of dieting, after the photo shoot, which was really interesting. So, for most individuals, at some point around the halfway mark, people's energy levels start to drop, their strength starts to decrease, their general mood and morale kind of changes, and as things get hard, which, rightly so, you're restricting your calories. She had some minor mood changes throughout the program. She said, there were a couple of things where she'd snap or have a short temper, but for the most part, she felt really good. It was only when we started her reverse did she really start to feel the effects of lethargy kick in, which, sometimes that'll happen. Your body holds off, you kind of get through it because you're in the heat and the hype of the moment, you're in shape, you're looking great, and then the diet's over and then it's like everything catches up with you. So just to digress back onto what we did. So after that anniversary, she still had about 3 weeks until the photo shoot that had been scheduled. You can see here those 3 weeks. So what we did was we reversed her. I took her calories back up so she wasn't having to restrict unnecessarily. So we took her back to maintenance. And then I tried to do some very small increases in calories, which we did. We took her from we took her from 1348 calories here at the end of the diet. We got her back up to 1608, which is a little bit more manageable. With basically no weight change. She maintained her weight at 129 for that entire time. And then we did a 2-week mini cut for her photo shoot, and her weight dropped back down a little bit. But part of the reason why her weight probably stayed the same was because I was adding in carbohydrates again. So she's starting to fill out. We're seeing increased muscle glycogen storage from those carbs that she was eating. So her weight didn't really change too much despite the mini cut. So she wanted to maintain this weight, as she reversed. And to be honest, she was petrified. She really was very nervous about starting the reverse diet. She didn't want to gain all the body fat back. But I kind of said to her, this is an opportunity to improve your body composition. You have a great physique. But if you have any intentions of competing in the future, now's the time to focus on, growing your glutes. You definitely could work on improving your glutes. So she went off and started working with Brett Contreras to, help develop those. And I also suggested to her, let's round out your shoulders and let's just fill out your muscles. You've got a really great body. You could have stepped on stage. So why not take the next, 20, 30 weeks to reverse and to repair your metabolism and build some muscle. So she entered this reverse diet pretty nervous. And I think she had stayed really nervous the entire time, which is normal, which it really is. And I'm used to seeing this, but she did such a great job. So here's the data. We can see that she started, this is her weight went up for the photo shoot because I had implemented the peak week protocols. So there's a lot of carb loading, a little bit of sodium manipulation, water manipulation to get her filled back out so she looked good and not flat. So that's why her weight has gone up here. But for the entire reverse diet, she managed to maintain her weight pretty consistently for the whole thing. So week 2, week 3, she didn't really move out of the 129s. She touched into the 130s. You can see it's been a very slow, incremental increase in weight. But we've taken her calories from 1329 at their lowest, and we're already back up at 2224. So if we do some math real quick, let me just bring up the calculator. 2224 minus, what did I say? 1329. So she's increased her calories by 895 in this time frame, but her weight has only gone up from 129 to 134. Now, that sounds like a lot on scales, okay? You know, she's up 4 pounds or 2 kilos, which she was very, very worried about. But if you look at her images, you can see here now, this is the after photo. So that was her diet in the middle, the end of the diet. We're now at week 38 of working together. Here's her at 13:48. Here's her at 22. Here's the 4 pound weight difference. She does not look any different. She's filled out a little bit. In my opinion, most of that, 50% of that, has probably come from lean body mass because she's been training her butt off and lifting weights, and she's been doing so in a surplus. And that's what's needed to help grow. So again, looking at her side on, this was the end of the diet at 129.2. Here's her side on at 132.7, you know, 4 pounds up. She looks great. I wish I had her back on photos because her glutes and her hamstrings have just blown up. She looks awesome. So that is such a great example of, you know, a reverse diet going successfully. She has been so compliant to her targets this entire time. You can see here from week 1, you know, she was a little hesitant to hit those numbers perfectly. She's a little bit under what I would say is allowable here. So she's at 96%. I like 97 or above. So you can tell she was timid and didn't want to, you know, hit those targets, but she's been pretty consistent right throughout. So she stayed within that 3% allowable range for her calories and for her protein. She's done great. And she's looking incredible. So right now we are at a point where she is doing minimal cardio. We have a look at her training. She's maintained her weights training sessions. I think she does 4 or 5 sessions per week. But you can see how we've tapered off all of her HIIT. So by the end of the diet, she was doing about 125 minutes of HIIT and quite a bit of walking. But that's tapered down. It's gone from, you know, up around the 120 minutes, all the way trickling down to 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 0, none. So not only has she been able to increase her calories by the 800 or so that I mentioned, she's also halved, no, less than, she's doing a quarter of the amount of activity that she was when she was dieting. And her list has gone down to very little as well. So you can see she was doing 110 minutes of consistent planned walking. And that slowly trickled down over the time too. There's a couple of weeks here where she did a little bit more, but that was when she had been invited out to go on a walk with her friend. It wasn't a planned thing. She just said, oh yeah, okay, well I guess I'm in my off season, I'll go for a bit of a walk. So the intention was to get this down to minimal so that when we do her next diet phase for her first competition, we have a tool up our sleeve to be able to create a calorie deficit from. What we find is that the most successful diets, and this is looking at all the case studies of my own clients, which we'll be putting this information into our upcoming reverse dieting book. So stay tuned for that. Lane and I will be sending that off to the publishers hopefully by the end of November of 2019. What am I saying? So we'll have that book available for you guys with a heap of case studies where we'll show you some trends, what makes a successful reverse diet, and a whole bunch of other information. So yeah, I lost my train of thought just there. Anyway, Shelley's going to be competing in 2020. We probably will pick a show around the middle of the year. So now the goal for her is just to continue at these kind of intakes. She's reported that she's feeling really good. That's a great amount of calories. I'm kind of edging her to keep continuing to push a little bit higher because usually when you begin a diet, the calorie reduction that is necessary to create weight loss is relative to the starting point. So by that I mean if she was able to get up to say 2,400 calories and her metabolic rate kind of allows for that with minimal weight regain, when she starts dieting, let's say I need to give her a 600 calorie deficit to create weight loss, then we're going to be taking her down to 1,800, okay, as week 1. If she leaves it where she is at 22, to, you know, if we take away that 600 calories to result in a certain amount of weight loss, Well, now she's going to have to go down to, a much lower amount. It's always relative to the starting point in most situations. So we'll spend the next 3 or 4 months kind of maintaining or adding a little bit of calories here or there in hopes to help her build her physique out to, better suit the division that she's going to be competing in, which would be fitness, so my category. Hopefully I can share the stage with Shelley one day. That'll be awesome. And then we'll diet her down again. So you can see, this is quite the process. I've been working with Shelley now for 39 weeks. And we've probably got another 20 odd weeks to, just maintain and keep on building. There will be no deviating for, Christmas holidays or, birthdays. A lot of people will make the mistake of going, oh, I want to look good for this event. Insert event X or whatever it might be. It's really important not to keep changing directions. You want to make progress. If you're wanting to build muscle and get some really good results, stick to the plan. So, I have had many a conversation with Shelley, and she would like to be leaner, or she doesn't want to be this heavy for a certain event. And I said, well, sometimes the things that we have to do to make progress are uncomfortable. Sometimes it doesn't feel good. I mean, I've done plenty of reverse diets where I've had to take my weight up to, say, 68 to 70 kilos or 155 pounds. I don't love being there, but it's necessary for me to improve and get to the end goal down the track. Because next time Shelley diets, she's going to diet down and reveal an even more muscular physique, and hopefully she'll be leaner too. So she's going to look better. So the goal would be to keep refining that process, repeating that process of dieting and reverse dieting until you end up at a place where you're with an optimal body composition that you really love, and you've been able to reverse your calories back up to a point that you're really happy with as well. So at the end of the day, you want to get to a spot where your calories give you the flexibility to be social, to eat out, to eat the foods that you want to eat, and have a body composition that you really love too, whilst doing a manageable amount of activity. You don't want to have to be doing, copious amounts of cardio, every day just to maintain your weight. So a really good way around that is obviously implementing the reverse diet process, followed by fat loss, and just sticking to the plan. Commit a good amount of time to each of those processes and stick to it. Just do it. That's all from me today, guys. I hope that you found this case study valuable. If you have any questions about Shelley's diet phase or her reverse diet or anything like that, please ask the questions in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.